It was supposed to be a night of celebration, not confrontation. The annual Urban Influence Awards in downtown Los Angeles had brought out the biggest names in music, fashion, and entertainment. Red carpets rolled out, flashes lit up the night, and the energy buzzed with excitement. But what no one saw coming was the explosive moment between Angela Simmons and GloRilla, two women whose lives orbit around the same man, Yo Gotti. What unfolded that night wasn't caught on a live stream or broadcast to millions, but the ripple effects would shake the culture for weeks. And at the center of it all was a man who had publicly pursued one woman, mentored the other, and watched the entire confrontation unfold in silence. The tension had been building for months, silently brewing under the surface, while the blogs speculated and fans read between every Instagram post, every lyric, every red carpet glance. Yo Gotti, the self-made mogul of CMG, had famously manifested his relationship with Angela Simmons. Years ago, he rapped about her on Down in the DM, making his admiration public. Over time, it turned into something real. The once one-sided crush became a relationship that many saw as grown, healthy, and aspirational. They seemed to complement each other. Angela brought poise and legacy. Gotti brought edge and hustle. They were admired, envied, and often held up as proof that opposites attract. But as always in the entertainment world, fairy tales have layers, and sometimes loose ends. Enter GloRilla. The Memphis-born rap star who signed to Gotti's label, CMG, had been climbing the charts, owning stages, and carving out her own space in hip-hop. Gotti championed her like a proud mentor, constantly hyping her music, her story, and her grind. She became one of the faces of CMG, with chart-topping singles, viral moments, and award show appearances. But somewhere along the way, the energy shifted. Behind-the-scenes moments, tour stops, subtle social media interactions, it all started to blur the lines between professional and personal. Fans began asking questions. Was there more to their relationship than music? Was Angela watching her place in Gotti's life quietly shift? While Gotti and Angela kept their relationship relatively low-key, insiders whispered that things were cooling off. Angela, always poised, stayed above the noise, but those close to her say she felt the shift. Less time, less presence, less clarity, and Gotti? He remained silent, playing the game only the powerful can afford, letting two women orbit while he stayed in the center. Behind the glamour and the business meetings was a triangle neither woman signed up for, yet both found themselves navigating. And like many things in hip-hop, it was only a matter of time before the silence broke. That night at the Urban Influence Awards, it all came to a head. Angela arrived first. Draped in a sleek black gown, diamonds glittering against her skin, she moved like someone who knew exactly who she was. She greeted familiar faces, smiled for the cameras, and entered the venue with her head held high. But behind her composure, she was alert. She had heard GloRilla might show up. She was ready. She wasn't there to cause a scene, but she wouldn't back away from one either. And show up GloRilla did. A force in red, bold, and unapologetic. She didn't sneak in, she arrived. The room took notice. She didn't need an entourage to make an entrance. Her presence did the work. And while she posed for a few photos and shared a few laughs, her eyes scanned the room. She was looking for something or someone. That someone wasn't hard to spot. Yo Gotti was already inside, VIP section. Surrounded by CMG execs, industry friends, and an expensive aura of power. He wasn't laughing or networking. He was watching, drinking something dark, checking his phone, waiting for who knows what, maybe even preparing himself for what he knew was inevitable. Backstage, the two women finally crossed paths. It wasn't loud, it wasn't public. But for those who were there, assistants, stylists, a couple of event coordinators, the air turned thick. Conversations paused, movements slowed. It was as though time hesitated to give the moment space. Angela saw GloRilla first. Her expression didn't change, but she adjusted her posture. GloRilla looked straight at her. No smiles, just eye contact, a silent challenge. The moment stretched. The silence was dense, almost deafening. And then Angela stepped forward. "I see what's happening," she said quietly. Not angry, not emotional, just direct. "I'm not here for games." GloRilla didn't blink. Neither am I. Angela nodded slightly. "Then let's not pretend." A beat passed. "I'm not pretending," GloRilla said. Her voice was cool, edged with steel. "I didn't start this, but I won't back down from it either." They weren't yelling. They weren't throwing drinks or making a scene. This wasn't reality TV. it was real life. Two women standing in the eye of a storm they didn't create, but refused to be swept away by. The moment was filled with dignity, defiance, and an undercurrent of sorrow. Because beneath it all, both of them knew this wasn't really about each other. A few feet away, Gotti stood. No entourage now, no buffer. He had moved closer when he heard the tension. He watched them, his expression unreadable. Was he expecting a blow-up? A walkout? Maybe he wasn't sure whether to speak or let the moment burn itself out. Someone expected him to step in, to diffuse, to clarify, but he didn't. He stood in silence, letting the moment play out. Maybe he didn't know what to say. Maybe he thought silence was safer. Maybe he wanted them to decide for him. But even silence speaks volumes, especially from someone who had everything to do with what was unfolding. Angela noticed him, barely turned her head. "You said you were ready for a grown woman," she said to no one in particular. "So act like it." Then she turned and walked away. GloRilla didn't follow. She watched Angela leave, then looked at Gotti. "You gonna speak now?" she asked. He didn't. And just like that, it was over. At least in that moment. But the internet had already caught wind. Event staff whispered. Tweets spread. By morning, the blogs were running with it. Screenshots, memes, think pieces. Everyone had an opinion. Angela and GloRilla have backstage confrontation. Yo Gotti caught in the middle of simmering tension between CMG artist and longtime partner. Opinions poured in. Some praised Angela for her composure. Others sided with GloRilla for standing firm. And Gotti? He got dragged for his silence. Social media doesn't reward neutrality. But those close to the trio say it wasn't just about relationships. It was about respect, boundaries, transparency. Angela and GloRilla didn't confront each other because of petty jealousy. They confronted each other because they knew their worth, and because the man they expected clarity from offered none. Angela had been patient, private, loyal. She had believed in the story they were writing. But when the narrative started to shift, she refused to sit quietly. She knew what her presence meant, what her silence was costing her. GloRilla had worked hard to be where she was. She didn't want to be seen as a side note in someone else's romance saga. She wasn't the problem, she just refused to be erased. Her loyalty to the label didn't mean submission. And Gotti? Well, maybe for the first time, the boss had to face something he couldn't control with money, music, or power. A moment that demanded truth and humility, not branding. In the days that followed, Angela posted a single Instagram story. Just white text on black background. "You know exactly what you're doing. So do I." No photos, no names. Just a line that landed like thunder. GloRilla dropped a freestyle the same week. One line hit different. "I don't chase no man. I'm the wave. Let him drown if they can't swim." The line went viral. Fans dissected it. Critics praised it, and through it all, she remained unbothered, confident. Yo Gotti. He posted nothing. Not a word. No statement. No subtweet. And maybe that silence spoke the loudest. Because this wasn't about who won. It wasn't about choosing sides. It was about two women standing up for themselves, drawing lines, speaking truth without needing volume. It was about letting the world know you can't play grown woman games and expect little boy answers. So the next time Angela Simmons and GloRilla walk into the same room, best believe it won't be quiet. Not because they'll be shouting, but because the world will be listening.